This is the Book Legion Podcast, where we review thought-provoking books to give our Legionnaires the knowledge they need to dominate the next level of their life.
Thanks everybody for joining me on another episode of the Book Legion. My name is Tyzer Evans. This week I'm going to be reviewing the book Go for No by Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. So if you're not familiar with who Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz are, they're well known in the sales space. They're the founders of Courage Crafters, where they go around and they help companies implement better strategies when it comes to their sales processes and systems. So in essence, what they are is they're sales consultants. Andrea does a lot of speaking across stages across the United States and worldwide when it comes to sales and this whole idea of Go for No. So we're going to cover today again is their book. We're going to talk about my three favorite top takeaways. The book is interesting. It's not like your typical sales books where it's going to be a chapter on prospecting, a chapter on follow-ups, or a chapter on social selling, right? That's not the way the book is. The book is actually a fable. So it follows a main character whose name is Eric. And so I'm going to be talking about my three favorite takeaways. I really want to keep the plot line kind of somewhat discreet so it intrigues you to read it. The book is only 80 pages, just roughly. I think 80 pages right on the dot. So I read the book in about 2 days. It's a super easy read. It's very entertaining. They did a great job with the plot line and making the message relevant. So let's dive into my top takeaways and what the book is all about. So the premise of what the book is really all about is this concept of going for no, right? Just what the title is. And so what the book starts out is the main character, Eric. He is a salesman, and he basically has an injury, and you're not sure if he falls back into a time loop or it's a dream or whatever it is, but he ends up meeting basically a different version of himself in the future, and a much more successful version of himself in the future. And so the whole principle is the way that his alternative self got to have this magnitude of success was by going for no in sales. And so he took a whole new strategy. So my first big takeaway of the book is this whole concept of go for no, what it means to your quota. So they did a good job throughout the story plot of breaking it down and talking about how oftentimes sales reps, what they do is if you have a widget quota or say a total dollar amount quota, let's just go with widget quota. And say your widget is I have to sell one widget per week, right? And I have a 10% closing ratio. I'm just using very round numbers. So that would mean that I want to try to have 10 prospects for my week. And if I have a 10% closing ratio, if I can hit 10 prospects, I should hit my weekly quota, right? So what the book says is that most people will focus on getting the one sale. And so in your mind, you start to equate how much rejection or how much pain am I going to have to feel in order to get to that one quota. Well, what they do is they flip it, and this is what Richard and Andrea are known for, is this whole idea of no, is they start to have you really focus on counting your no's as opposed to counting your yeses. Because usually, so say it's a Monday, and you get your one yes on Monday, a lot of salespeople, what they do then is they coast the rest of the 4 days because they got their one sale. You could have gone 1 for 1 and not have faced any type of rejection, right? And so what you do is then you just hit your quota, or maybe you get another one for the week. You make a couple more calls and see if you get lucky again. And that's very consistent with most salespeople do. And this is why salespeople are, one, they're inconsistent month to month, and two, they never make the money they want to in sales, knowing that the money is there. It's because they're assessing how to go about their quota in the wrong direction. So what they talk about is that you're not done with your quota until you get the right amount of no's. So in this scenario, if you need to sell one widget per week and you have a closing ratio of 10%, then what you're ideally trying to look for is you're trying to go for 9 no's. And so through going for 9 no's, you actually may pick up 4 sales going for 9 no's versus going for 1 sale and not counting your no's, right? Just knowing your closing ratio is 10%. So the whole book is, this is how you start to stretch your goals. This is how you start to change your perspective on what you're really going for. And it's about counting your rejection than it is about counting your success. And so I love this because I was thinking about that. I was like, yeah, if I'm only counting my 9 no's, then I'm not done until I get my 9 no's. And when I get my 9th no, I might have had 5 sales versus me just trying to count the one widget to win a sale. So I thought it totally changed my whole perspective on counting no's versus yeses. And it makes you endure, quote unquote, more pain But by doing that, you're giving yourself more opportunity to make more money and to close more business. And the second thing I want to talk to you about is that getting a no is a good thing. You don't ever want to get I need to think about it, or let me go talk to my husband, let me go talk to my wife. I'm not sure right now is the right time. No, what you want is a strong, concrete no. And I've actually lived by this in sales, is that once you get a no, it allows you to re-enter the sales process and to re-engage in the sales loop. And oftentimes, this is where salespeople miss the bucket. They want to get just send me an email. Let me think about it. And salespeople makes them feel good because it's not a harsh rejection. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't give you the ability to understand where the disconnect is between you and your prospect. And so by getting a concrete no, it allows you permission to ask why. And when you can ask why, you can re-enter the sales loop and start to ask better probing questions and go back into the discovery phase. So a big takeaway for me is that you want to get the concrete no because it re-engages you in the sales process, as opposed to one of those answers of, let me think about it, let me check with my life, let me go home, let me sleep on it. Those are all ways, they're a subtle no, just passing you off, but it makes you feel better, so you don't typically end up pressing for the hard questions. And then the third big takeaway for me was go big on your failure, right? And this is again, I had learned this when I first started off in insurance sales. I sold auto insurance policies, and so a lot of times the policies I would be selling $500 to $3,000. Now I work on multi-million-dollar deals. Still in insurance, my frame of reference has changed, and I realized, man, do I want to get 10% off of a $1,000 deal, or do I want to get 2% off of a $5 million deal, right? And so I had to shift my perspective, because when it comes to taking rejection, the rejection's all the same regardless of the size of the deal. And so this is what they start to talk about in the book. One of the last sections was talking about, they're using selling copiers as an example. They're like, would you rather go for 2 copiers knowing that your widget is 20 for the week, and so you're having to go for all these small accounts that will only buy 2 copiers for you? Or would you rather make a list of accounts that will buy 20 copiers from you? Because the rejection is all the same. Whether you're trying to sell 2 or 20, typically in sales, the process, the paperwork, everything is the same. So don't limit yourself to just going for the small accounts, because that's where your frame of reference is, because you're thinking with your own wallet. Go for the big accounts because it's the same amount of work. And this always gets lost on salespeople. And once it clicked in for me that it's the same amount of work, whether I go for a $1,000 sale or a $10 million sale, I was like, well, why wouldn't I always just go for the $10 million sale? That makes more sense to me. But what a lot of people do is they have an issue with money. And this is why I talk about money in the podcast. And I've covered books like Happy Money by Ken Honda, which I think was episode number 5, because it's so important to have a good relationship with money, especially when you're in sales, because it allows you to go and ask for the big sale. So, one of the big messages is, if you're going to fail big, because there's no point in not failing big, because it's usually the same amount of work and effort to ask for a small sale it is for asking for a big sale. So again, overall for me, I actually interviewed Andrea on my other podcast, Grind, Sell, Elevate, which is more of a business entrepreneur podcast where I have full-fledged interviews. So Andrea was really kind. She sent me the book. Those of you here on YouTube, you can see, super nice. Her and Richard signed the book for me. Great people. Said they're really well known in the sales space. So this has been a top 50 sales book for the last 10 years. You can see here Darren Hardy wrote on the cover of the book, endorsed it. So if you don't know who Darren Hardy is, he wrote The Compound Effect, which is a phenomenal book on just kind of reconstructing your life, kind of sales, kind of self-development. So the book's gotten a lot of attention from a lot of really great people in the sales space. Obviously, it's sold more than 500,000 copies. It's relatively short. It's inexpensive, but it's got a whole tremendous amount of value. So I would definitely pick it up. I'll drop it in the link below so you can go ahead and scroll right down, pick it up. Said it's worth the $7 or $8 it's going to cost you to buy the book. It's an incredible book. If you guys haven't done so, please subscribe to the podcast. So I drop Book reviews once every Sunday. If you want to check out my other podcast, it's Grind, Sell, Elevate, where we release interviews every Thursday with somebody who is an entrepreneur, business leader, thought leader across all different platforms. Very much similar to here when it comes to covering all pillars of your life. And if it's your first time listening to the Book Legion, again, I cover a book once a week, a book on different core pillars of your life when it comes to your spirituality, wealth, your health, sales, leadership, entrepreneurship. We cover different books that are going to help to elevate the quality of your life. So make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can get the updates weekly when everything is dropped. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll talk to you guys soon.